Imagine standing in a crowded mall, your hands trembling as you fold a dress, knowing one wrong move could cost you everything. For Emily Harper, this wasn't just a bad day at work. It was the moment her life unraveled, only to be stitched back together in ways she never dreamed possible. At 26, Emily was barely holding on, her dreams buried under a pile of bills and a fresh divorce. But in the chaos of one humiliating moment, a stranger's voice would turn her world upside down. If stories of second chances and unexpected heroes speak to you, hit that like button and subscribe. There's more to come. This is the story of how one ordinary Saturday became the doorway to something extraordinary. Emily stood behind the polished counter of Chic Boutique, a high-end store in Willow Creek Mall. The air smelled of expensive perfume and fresh linen, but her stomach churned with the familiar weight of anxiety. 3 months after her divorce, she was starting over in a cramped apartment, drowning in debt, and clinging to this job like a lifeline. Retail wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Barely. She arrived early, as always, steaming dresses, arranging jewelry, making sure every detail was perfect. In luxury retail, perfection wasn't optional, it was survival. Her manager's voice echoed in her head. One unhappy customer could end your shift and your paycheck. The mall buzzed with energy that morning. Families wandered past, kids clutching ice cream cones, while teenagers laughed in clusters near the fountain. Emily watched from her post, scanning for customers who might actually buy. She'd gotten good at reading people, knowing who'd spend and who'd just browse. Around noon, a woman strode in, her heels clicking like a metronome. She was in her 50s, blonde hair swept into a flawless updo, her cream-colored suit screaming wealth. The handbag slung over her arm could have covered Emily's rent for a year. "Excuse me," the woman said, her tone sharp as a blade. "I need help. Now I'm attending an exclusive gala tonight, and I need a dress that makes a statement." Emily forced a smile, stepping out from behind the counter. "Of course, I'd love to help. What kind of look are you going for?" The woman's eyes raked over Emily, lingering on her simple black blouse and skirt, as if sizing up her worth. "A gala," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "Very high profile. I'll be photographed, so it has to be perfect. Do you even understand what that means?" Emily's cheeks warmed, but she kept her composure. "Absolutely. Let's find something stunning." She led the woman to the evening wear section, pulling out a sleek navy gown with delicate beading. "This could be perfect for a gala," she said. "It's elegant, but bold." The woman barely glanced at it. "Too dull," she snapped, waving it away. Emily tried again, a deep emerald dress with a flowing train. "Wrong color," the woman said, her lips curling. "Do you have anything that doesn't look so ordinary?" For the next hour, Emily presented dress after dress. Each one met with a sharper critique. Too short, too flashy, too cheap-looking. The woman's voice grew louder, drawing glances from other shoppers. Emily's hands shook as she hung up a crimson cocktail dress, her commission slipping away with every rejection. She couldn't afford to lose this sale or this job. "Can you describe exactly what you're looking for?" Emily asked, her voice steady despite the knot in her chest. The woman sighed as if Emily had asked her to solve world hunger. "It's a charity gala," she said. "I need to look sophisticated, not like I'm trying too hard." "Is that so hard to grasp?" Emily nodded, pulling a classic black dress with a subtle shimmer. "This is timeless," she said. "It photographs beautifully." The woman held it up, inspecting it like evidence in a crime scene, then tossed it back. "The fabric feels flimsy," she said. "In black? Everyone wears black. Don't you have anything unique?" Emily's patience frayed, but she kept smiling. "Let me check our designer collection," she said, heading to the racks. By now a crowd had gathered outside the store, drawn by the woman's rising voice. Other customers browsed nearby, pretending not to listen. Emily felt their eyes on her, her every move judged. She brought out a silver gown, hoping it would finally please. "Too gaudy," the woman said, rolling her eyes. "Are you even trying?" Emily's throat tightened. "I'm sorry," she said. "Let's try something else. Maybe you could tell me more about the event." The woman's face darkened. "Are you implying I don't know what I want?" she snapped. "Do you think I'm being difficult?" "No," Emily said quickly. "I just want to help you find the perfect dress." That's when it happened. The woman stepped closer, her voice booming. "You're a salesgirl in a mall," she said. "What could you possibly know about style? Look at you. Look at what you're wearing." Emily glanced down at her outfit. Standard for the store, professional, and neat. But the woman's words cut deep, making her feel small, invisible. "I'm sorry if I've upset you," Emily said, her voice barely audible. "Maybe my colleague can assist you better." The woman laughed, cold and sharp. "Oh, so now you're passing me off? This is the kind of service I expect from a place like this." The crowd grew thicker, phones emerging from pockets. Emily's cheeks burned as whispers spread. "Ma'am, I'm trying to help," she said softly. "If you could just—" "Help?" the woman interrupted, her voice a whip. "You don't know the first thing about helping someone like me. Do you know who I am? My husband runs half this city. I could have you fired." Emily's heart pounded. She needed this job. Her rent, her car, her life depended on it. "I understand you're upset," she said, fighting back tears. "Please, let me get my manager." "Your manager's not here," the woman sneered. "It's just you and your incompetence." Emily tried to explain the store's return policy, hoping to calm things. "If you're not satisfied, you can return any purchase within 30 days, she said. The woman's eyes narrowed. "Are you saying I'd need to return something?" she asked, her voice low and dangerous. "Are you calling me difficult?" Emily froze, realizing she'd stepped into a trap. "I'm not," she started, but the woman cut her off. "You're making assumptions about me," she said. "You're treating me like some problem customer." Before Emily could respond, the woman raised her hand and slapped her hard across the face. The sound echoed like a thunderclap. The store fell silent. Emily stood stunned, her cheeks stinging, her vision blurring with tears. She tasted blood where she'd bitten her tongue. "That's what you get for disrespecting someone who matters," the woman said, her voice carrying over the stunned crowd. "Maybe now you'll think twice." Emily wanted to vanish, to run and never look back. Phones were up, recording her humiliation. She was just a sales clerk, invisible to the world, until now, when her shame was on display for all to see. The air in Chic Boutique hung heavy. The silence after the slap broken only by the faint hum of the mall outside. Emily's cheek burned, her hand pressed against it as the crowd's eyes bore into her. She wanted to shrink, to disappear into the wrecks of dresses, but there was nowhere to hide. The woman who'd struck her stood tall, her face smug as if she'd just won a battle. Emily's heart raced, her mind screaming to run, but her feet stayed glued to the floor. She couldn't lose this job. Not now. Not when every dollar kept her afloat. Then a voice cut through the tension like a knife. Touch her again, and you'll regret it. Deep, calm, and commanding, the words turned every head in the store. A man stepped forward, weaving through the crowd with an ease that made people part instinctively. He was tall, in his early 30s, dark hair neatly combed, his tailored suit screaming wealth. But it wasn't his clothes that held the room. It was his presence, like he owned the air itself. Emily stared, confused, as he moved closer, his eyes locked on the woman who'd slapped her. "Excuse me," the woman said, her voice faltering. "What did you say?" The man didn't flinch. "You heard me," he said. "You just assaulted this woman in front of everyone." The woman's confidence wavered, her eyes darting around as if searching for an ally. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said. "She's just a sales clerk. She was rude, and I—" "You were rude," the man interrupted, his tone steady but sharp. "You humiliated someone trying to do their job. And for what? To feel powerful?" Emily's breath caught. No one had ever stood up for her like this. Not her ex-husband, not her co-workers, not even herself. The crowd murmured, phones still recording, but the energy had shifted. People weren't just watching a spectacle anymore. They were witnessing a reckoning. The woman straightened, clutching her handbag like a shield. "Do you know who I am?" she demanded. "My husband is a major donor to this city's arts council. You can't talk to me like this." The man smiled, but it was cold, calculated. "I don't care who your husband is," he said. "I care that you think you can treat people like they're beneath you." He stepped closer to Emily, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. Her heart skipped. She didn't know this man, yet his touch felt steady, grounding. "And you should know," he continued, his voice louder now, "this woman is my wife." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Emily's eyes widened, her mind racing. Wife? She'd never seen him before in her life. What was he doing? The woman's jaw dropped, her certainty crumbling. "Your wife?" she stammered. "That's impossible. She's just..." "Just what?" the man cut in. "Someone you thought you could bully? You picked the wrong person today." Emily stood frozen, her cheeks still stinging, trying to process the lie. Why was he doing this? Was he crazy? But something in his eyes, calm, resolute, told her to play along, to trust him, even if just for this moment. The woman's face flushed red, her hands trembling. "This is ridiculous," she said, but her voice had lost its edge. "I barely touched her. She deserved it for her attitude." The man's expression didn't change. "You assaulted her," he said. "I saw it. Everyone saw it. And trust me, you don't want to test what happens next." As if on cue, 2 security guards appeared at the store's entrance, their radios crackling. "Is there a problem here?" one asked, his eyes flicking between Emily, the man, and the woman. The man nodded. "This woman just attacked my wife," he said. "I want her escorted out of the mall." The woman's eyes widened, panic creeping in. "You can't do this," she said. "My husband will hear about this. I'll have this store shut down." The man didn't blink. "Go ahead," he said. "Tell your husband. But you might want to ask yourself if he'd approve of you slapping a stranger over a dress." The crowd whispered, some nodding in agreement, others still filming. Emily felt a strange mix of gratitude and disbelief. This stranger was turning the tables, making the woman who'd humiliated her squirm. But why? What did he gain from this? The security guard stepped forward. "Ma'am, you need to come with us," he said. The woman clutched her bag tighter. "Do you know who I am?" she repeated, her voice shrill now. "You can't treat me like this." The man leaned in, his voice low but clear. "And do you know who I am?" he asked. The woman froze, her eyes narrowing as she studied his face. Recognition hit her like a wave, her bravado collapsing. "Oh no," she whispered. "You're Nathan Reed." A murmur spread through the crowd. Nathan Reed, eh? The name carried weight. Emily had heard it before. A tech billionaire who kept a low profile, but whose software powered half the world's businesses. "That's right," Nathan said. "And I suggest you leave before this gets worse." The woman's face paled. She looked around, realizing the crowd wasn't on her side anymore. "This isn't over," she muttered, but her voice shook. "I'll be speaking to my lawyer." Nathan's smile was razor sharp. "I hope you do," he said. "My legal team loves a challenge." The guard stepped closer, and the woman, with one last glare at Emily, turned and marched out, her heels clicking furiously. The crowd began to disperse, whispering about what they'd just seen, some still holding up phones to capture the aftermath. Nathan's hand stayed on Emily's shoulder, steady and warm. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice softer now, almost gentle. Emily nodded, though her hands trembled. "I think so," she whispered. "Thank you. I don't know why you did that, but thank you." He glanced around the store, where a few customers lingered, pretending to browse. "Can we talk somewhere private?" he asked. Emily hesitated, then nodded, leading him to a small stock room behind the counter, cluttered with boxes and extra hangers. The door clicked shut, muffling the mall's noise. "Why did you say I was your wife?" Emily asked, her voice shaky, but curious. Nathan leaned against a shelf, his expression unreadable. "Because I saw how she treated you," he said. "I've been in the mall all morning, watching people come and go. You were patient, professional, even when she was tearing you down. I couldn't let her walk away thinking she'd won." Emily blinked, unsure what to make of him. "But calling me your wife," she said, "that's a big lie." Nathan nodded. "It was the fastest way to shut her down," he said. "People like her only respect power. Claiming you as my wife gave you that power, even if just for a moment." Emily's mind spun. "You said you own stores here," she said. "Is that true?" Nathan's lips twitched into a half smile. "I own a few businesses in this mall," he said, "and a few other places. But that's not why I stepped in. I stepped in because you didn't deserve what she did to you." Emily touched her cheek, still sore from the slap. "I need this job," she said. "I can't afford to make waves." Nathan's eyes softened. "I know," he said, "and that's why I'm going to make you an offer. But first, I need to know, are you happy here?" The question hit her like a punch. Happy? She hadn't thought about happiness in years. She was surviving, nothing more. "No," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not happy." Nathan nodded, as if he'd expected her answer. "Then let me change that," he said. The stockroom's dim light cast shadows on the boxes around Emily. But Nathan's words hung brighter, heavier in the air. "Then let me change that," he'd said, his voice steady, like he was offering her a lifeline she hadn't asked for. Emily's cheeks still stung from the slap, her heart pounding from the chaos of the last hour. But his presence felt like an anchor, pulling her from the storm. She studied his face, sharp jaw, dark eyes that seemed to see right through her, and wondered what kind of man would step into a stranger's fight. What kind of man would lie so boldly to save her dignity? And what did he mean by change? Nathan leaned against a shelf, his suit somehow untouched by the cramped, dusty space. "I have a proposition," he said. "It's going to sound strange, but I want you to hear me out." Emily's stomach twisted. Strange didn't begin to cover it. "Okay," she said, her voice cautious. "What's your proposition?" He took a breath as if choosing his words carefully. "I need a wife," he said. "For business reasons. My grandfather's will stipulates I must be married by my 32nd birthday, or I lose control of my company. That's 6 months from now." Emily stared, her mind scrambling to keep up. "A wife?" she said. "You're serious?" Nathan nodded. "Dead serious." She laughed, a short, nervous sound. "This is crazy," she said. "You don't even know me. Why would you want me to—" "Because I've seen enough," Nathan interrupted, his tone calm but firm. "I watched you handle that woman with grace, even when she was tearing you apart. You're honest, hard-working, and you don't crumble under pressure. That's more than I can say for most people I've met." Emily's cheeks warmed, not from the slap this time, but from his words. No one had ever described her like that, like she was more than just a retail clerk scraping by. But still, marriage, it was absurd. "Why not hire an actress or someone famous?" she asked. "You're Nathan Reed. You must know people who'd jump at this." Nathan's eyes darkened. "I've tried," he said, "but every woman I've approached sees my money, not me. They want fame, headlines, a piece of my world. I need someone who wants something real, not someone who'll turn this into a circus." Emily crossed her arms, trying to ground herself. "So what? You want a fake marriage? A business deal?" "Exactly," Nathan said. "1 year. We marry, I secure my inheritance, and you walk away with enough money to change your life. $5 million. Emily's knees weakened. She grabbed the edge of a box to steady herself. $5 million. The number was so big it felt unreal, like something from a movie. She thought of her tiny apartment, the stack of unpaid bills on her counter, the student loans she'd never paid off after dropping out of college. That kind of money could erase her debt, let her go back to school, maybe study marketing like she'd always dreamed. It could give her a fresh start. But marriage, even a fake one, wasn't just a contract. It was a leap into the unknown, with a man she'd met an hour ago. "What would I have to do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan's expression softened. "Attend a few events with me, maybe 10 or 12 over the year," he said. "Smile for cameras. Play the part of a happy wife. That's it. You'd have your own space, your own life. No strings attached, and after a year, we divorce, and you're free." Emily's mind raced. "It sounds too good to be true," she said. "What's the catch?" Nathan hesitated, just for a moment. "The catch is you'd have to lie," he said. "To my family, my colleagues, the press. It's not a small thing, pretending to be someone's wife." Emily looked down at her hands, still trembling from the confrontation. She thought about the woman who'd slapped her, how powerless she'd felt, how her life had become a cycle of survival, work, bills, repeat. This offer was insane, but it was also a door out of that cycle. "Why me?" she asked. "You could find someone more convincing, someone who fits your world." Nathan shook his head. "I don't want someone from my world," he said. "I want someone real, someone who doesn't see me as a paycheck or a headline. I think that's you." She wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at her. "How do I know you're not playing me?" she asked. "You could be anyone, saying anything to get what you want." Nathan reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card, handing it to her. "My direct number," he said. "Look me up. Ask around. I'm not hiding who I am. But I'm serious about this, Emily. I think we could help each other." She took the card, her fingers brushing against his. The name Nathan Reed was printed in sleek black font, alongside a company logo she vaguely recognized. It felt real, but so did the risk. "What if I say no?" she asked, meeting his eyes. "Then I respect your choice," Nathan said. "I'll find another way to handle my problem, but I hope you'll consider it. I think this could be good for both of us." Emily nodded, her mind a tangle of fear and possibility. "I need to think about it," she said. "How do I reach you?" "Call that number," he said, pointing to the card. "Day or night. I'll answer." He turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing," he said. "That woman who hit you? She was wrong. You're not just a sales clerk. You're someone who matters." His words hit her harder than the slap had, stirring something deep inside. A flicker of worth she'd forgotten she could feel. Nathan left the stockroom, and Emily stood there, clutching the card, her heart pounding. The rest of her shift passed in a blur. Customers came and went, their polite smiles a stark contrast to the morning's chaos. She kept replaying the scene, the slap, the crowd, Nathan's voice claiming her as his wife. It felt like a dream, or maybe a nightmare she hadn't woken from. When she finally clocked out, the mall was quieter, the evening crowd thinning. She walked to her car, the business card burning a hole in her pocket. $5 million. A fake marriage. A chance to start over. It was too much to process. At home in her small apartment, Emily sat on her worn couch, staring at the card. The walls felt closer than usual, the weight of her life pressing in. She thought about her ex-husband, who'd left her with nothing but debt and a bruised heart. She thought about her mother, gone 2 years now, who'd always said courage was choosing the hard path when it led somewhere better. Emily had stopped choosing years ago. She'd just been surviving. But Nathan's offer was a path, crazy as it was. Could she trust him? Could she trust herself to step into his world, to play a role she didn't understand? The money was tempting, but it was his final words that echoed loudest. "You're someone who matters." For the first time in years, she wanted to believe it. Emily sat on her couch, the business card still in her hand, its edges creased from her nervous grip. The apartment was quiet, save for the hum of the fridge and the distant sound of a neighbor's TV. $5 million. A fake marriage. Nathan's words spun in her mind, each one pulling her between hope and fear. She'd spent years playing it safe, keeping her head down, surviving. But this was a leap into a world she didn't know, with a man she barely understood. Could she pretend to be someone's wife? Could she live a lie for a year? The idea felt like stepping off a cliff. But the life she was living now, scraping by invisible, felt like a slow suffocation. She stood, pacing the small living room, her footsteps muffled on the worn carpet. Her eyes landed on a framed photo of her mother, smiling softly, taken before cancer stole her away. Emily remembered her mother's voice, steady and warm. "Opportunities don't wait for you to feel ready, Em. You have to grab them and figure it out as you go." But this wasn't just an opportunity, it was a gamble. Nathan seemed genuine. But what if he wasn't? What if this was some elaborate trick? She grabbed her laptop, typed his name into the search bar, and hit enter. Pages loaded instantly. Nathan Reed, tech billionaire, CEO of a software empire, known for his privacy and rare public appearances. The photos had matched the man she'd met. Sharp features, intense eyes, always in a suit. He was real. His offer might be too. Emily set the laptop down, her heart racing. She thought about her job at Chic Boutique, the endless hours of smiling through insults, the paycheck that barely covered her bills. She thought about the woman who'd slapped her, how powerless she'd felt, how the crowd's eyes had burned into her. Then she thought of Nathan stepping in, claiming her as his wife, giving her a shield when she had none. He'd seen something in her, strength, honesty, worth. Could she see it in herself? She picked up the card again, her thumb tracing his number. The clock on her wall ticked past midnight. She needed to decide. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Dreams of dresses and crowds mixed with Nathan's voice, his offer echoing like a promise and a warning. By morning, her coffee was cold, but her mien was clearer. She dialed his number, her hands shaking. Nathan answered on the second ring. "Emily," he said, his voice calm, expectant. "I've made my decision," she said, her words steadier than she felt. "I'll do it." There was a pause, then Nathan's voice softened. "Are you sure?" "Once we start, there's no turning back." "I'm sure," she said, and for the first time in years, she meant it. "Good," Nathan said. "Meet me at my office tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'll send you the address. Bring whatever you need to feel comfortable. We'll go over the details." Emily nodded, though he couldn't see her. "Okay," she said. "See you then." She hung up, her heart pounding, a mix of fear and excitement surging through her. This was it, a choice that could change everything. She spent the day preparing, packing a small bag with essentials, as if she were leaving for a trip she didn't fully understand. Her apartment felt smaller, like it belonged to someone else. Someone who hadn't just said yes to a billionaire's wild plan. The next morning, Emily drove to downtown Seattle, where Nathan's office towered over the city, a sleek glass building that gleamed in the sunlight. She felt out of place in her simple blouse and jeans, surrounded by people in tailored suits rushing through the lobby. A receptionist led her to a private elevator, and moments later, she stepped into Nathan's office. It was massive, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Puget Sound, but Nathan stood at a simple desk, his suit jacket off, sleeves rolled up. "You came," he said, a small smile breaking his serious expression. "I wasn't sure you would." "I wasn't sure either," Emily admitted, setting her bag down. "But I'm here." Nathan gestured to a leather chair. "Sit," he said. "Let's talk about what this means." He laid out the plan with precision, like he was pitching a business deal. They'd marry in a small private ceremony within a week. She'd move into his penthouse, but she'd have her own suite, her own space. They'd attend a handful of events, galas, charity dinners, board meetings, where she'd play the part of his wife. No intimacy, no expectations beyond appearances. After a year, they'd divorce quietly, and she'd walk away with $5 million, wired to an account of her choosing. Emily listened, her mind catching on every detail. "What about your family?" she asked. "Won't they suspect something?" Nathan's jaw tightened. "My family's complicated," he said. "My parents passed years ago, and my sister, she's skeptical of everyone. But I'll handle her. You just need to smile, nod, and let me do the talking." Emily nodded, though unease crept in. "And the press?" she asked. "They'll dig into my life." Nathan leaned forward. "I've got a team to manage that," he said. "We'll give them a story. Love at first sight. A whirlwind romance. By the time they start asking questions, we'll be done. She swallowed, the weight of the lie settling in. This wasn't just about events or smiles. It was about stepping into a world that wasn't hers, pretending to belong. "What if I mess up?" she asked. "What if I say the wrong thing?" Nathan's eyes softened. "You won't," he said. "You handled that woman in the store without losing your cool. You can handle this. Just be yourself, or the version of yourself that's married to me." Emily laughed, a nervous sound. "That's a tall order," she said. Nathan smiled. "You're taller than you think." They spent the next hour going over logistics, paperwork, a prenup, a schedule of events. Nathan's team would handle her wardrobe, her travel, even a crash course in etiquette for high society events. It felt overwhelming, but Nathan's calm confidence steadied her. By the time she left, her head was spinning, but a spark of excitement burned in her chest. She was doing this. She was stepping into a new life, even if it was built on a lie. As she drove home, the city lights blurring past, she wondered what she was leaving behind and what she might find. That night, Emily lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She thought about her old dreams: college, a career in marketing, a life where she didn't check her bank account before buying groceries. She thought about the slap, how it had stripped her bare in front of strangers, and how Nathan had given her back her dignity. This deal was crazy, but it was also a chance to rewrite her story. She wasn't just a clerk anymore. She was Emily Harper, about to become Mrs. Nathan Reed, at least for a year. The thought made her heart race, not with fear now, but with possibility. She closed her eyes, imagining a future she couldn't yet see. But for the first time in years, she felt ready to chase it. Emily stepped out of the private elevator into Nathan's penthouse, her breath catching at the sight. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Seattle's skyline, the city lights twinkling like stars against the dusk. The space was sleek. Marble floors, modern furniture, art that probably cost more than her entire life's earnings. She clutched her suitcase, feeling like an imposter in her jeans and faded sweater. This was her new home, at least for the next year. Nathan greeted her with a nod, his casual button-down a stark contrast to the suit he'd worn at the mall. "Welcome," he said. "Your suite's this way." He led her down a hall to a room bigger than her apartment, with a plush bed, a private bathroom, and a view that made her heart skip. "This is really mine?" she asked, her voice small. Nathan smiled. "All yours. Make yourself at home." The first week was a whirlwind. Emily signed the marriage contract in a quiet lawyer's office, her hands shaking as she inked her name next to Nathan's. The ceremony was simple, just them, a justice of the peace, and Nathan's assistant as a witness. No vows, no rings, just paperwork. Emily expected to feel something, regret, maybe, or excitement, but it was oddly anticlimactic, like signing a lease. Afterward, Nathan handed her a credit card. "For your wardrobe," he said. "My stylist will meet you tomorrow." Emily nodded, still processing that this was her life now. She wasn't just Emily Harper anymore. She was a Nathan Reed's wife, even if only on paper. The first event came faster than she expected, a charity gala at a downtown hotel. Emily stood in front of a mirror, barely recognizing herself in a sapphire gown that hugged her frame. Her hair swept into an elegant updo. The stylist had worked magic, but Emily felt like a kid playing dress-up. "You look perfect," Nathan said, appearing behind her in a tuxedo. "Just smile and follow my lead." She nodded, her stomach in knots. The gala was a sea of wealth, glittering chandeliers, men in tailored suits, women dripping in diamonds. Nathan's arm rested lightly on hers as he introduced her to strangers. "This is my wife, Emily," he said, his voice warm, convincing. People smiled, shook her hand, asked about their whirlwind romance. Emily played along, nodding, laughing softly, but her heart raced. One wrong word, and the lie could unravel. Most guests were polite, but some watched her with veiled curiosity, their eyes lingering on her like they were sizing up an outsider. Nathan's sister, Claire, was the worst. A sharp-eyed woman in her late 30s, she cornered Emily near the dessert table. "So you're the mystery wife," Claire said, her tone icy. "Nathan's never mentioned you before. How did you two meet?" Emily's throat tightened, but Nathan's briefing had prepared her. "We met at a coffee shop," she said, keeping her voice steady. "It was one of those chance encounters that just clicked." Claire's smile didn't reach her eyes. "How convenient," she said. Emily felt the jab but kept smiling, her palms sweaty. Nathan appeared, slipping an arm around her. "Claire," he said, "play nice." His sister smirked and walked away, but Emily felt her gaze linger. The events blurred together. Dinners, fundraisers, a tech conference where Emily stood silently as Nathan charmed investors. She got better at the role, learning to laugh at the right moments, to tilt her head when cameras flashed. But the act was exhausting. Every smile felt like a performance. Every conversation, a tightrope walk. At home, she and Nathan were polite but distant, like roommates with a shared secret. He was kind, leaving her coffee in the mornings, asking about her day, but there was a wall between them. This was business, not friendship. Still, Emily caught herself watching him sometimes. How he loosened his tie after a long day, how his eyes softened when he talked about his work. He wasn't what she'd expected from a billionaire. One night, after a particularly draining gala, Emily sat on her suite's balcony, the city sprawling below. She felt like a fraud, wearing dresses that cost thousands, while her old life, her real life, faded like a dream. Nathan joined her, holding 2 glasses of wine. "Rough night?" he asked, handing her one. She nodded, taking a sip. "I'm not sure I'm cut out for this," she said. "Everyone's watching me, waiting for me to slip up." Nathan leaned against the railing. "You're doing better than you think," he said. "Most people in that room couldn't handle what you're doing." Emily looked at him, surprised. "You really think so?" "I know so," he said. "You're not just playing a part, Emily. You're holding your own." His words warmed her, but doubt lingered. She thought about her old life, the monotony of retail, the sting of that customer slap. This new world was dazzling but disorienting, like walking through a mirror into someone else's life. She missed simple things, coffee runs with coworkers, quiet nights alone. But she also felt a spark she hadn't in years, a sense of possibility. Nathan's life was polished, controlled, but there were cracks, moments when he seemed as lost as she felt. At a tech launch event, she overheard him arguing with a board member, his voice tight with frustration. "They don't trust me," he muttered later, driving them home. Emily hesitated, then asked, "Why not?" Nathan sighed, "Because I'm young, and my grandfather's shadow still looms. This marriage, it's my way of proving I'm stable, focused." Emily nodded, seeing him differently. He wasn't just a billionaire with a plan. He was a man carrying a weight she hadn't noticed before. The next event was easier. She wore a crimson dress, held Nathan's arm, and laughed at his jokes like they'd been married for years. Guests noticed, whispering about how natural they seemed together. Emily felt a strange pride. She was pulling it off. But at home, alone in her suite, she wondered who she was becoming. Was she still Emily Harper, the retail clerk with big dreams? Or was she Mrs. Reed, a role she'd never auditioned for? The money was still months away, but the life she was living now, glamorous, precarious, felt like a test she hadn't studied for. One afternoon, Nathan knocked on her door holding a folder. "I thought you might want this," he said, handing it to her. Inside were brochures for business schools in Seattle, programs for marketing and entrepreneurship. Emily's heart skipped. "Why?" she asked. Nathan shrugged. "You mentioned wanting to study. I figured you could start looking." She stared at the papers, her throat tight. No one had ever done something like this for her. Not her ex, not her friends. "Thank you," she whispered. Nathan nodded, already turning away. "Just doing my part," he said. But to Emily it felt like more than that. It felt like he saw her, not just as a means to an end, but as someone with a future worth investing in. Emily stood in Nathan's penthouse, the city lights a quiet glow beyond the windows. The brochures for business schools lay on her desk, their glossy pages a reminder of the life she'd once dreamed of, a life that felt closer now, yet still out of reach. 9 months into their arrangement, she'd mastered the role of Mrs. Reed. She could glide through galas, charm executives, and deflect Claire's pointed questions with a smile. But beneath the polished exterior, a question gnawed at her. Who was she when the cameras weren't flashing? The fake marriage had given her confidence, a glimpse of a Zigger world, but it also left her feeling like a shadow of herself, playing a part she didn't fully understand. Nathan had become more than a business partner. Late-night talks on the balcony, shared glances at stuffy events, small gestures like the brochures. They'd built a quiet bond. He wasn't the cold billionaire she'd first imagined. He was driven, yes, but also haunted by expectations. His grandfather's will, his board's doubts, a sister who questioned his every move. Emily saw it in the way his shoulders tensed when he spoke of his company, how he'd deflect personal questions with a practiced laugh. She wondered if he felt as trapped by their lie as she sometimes did. One evening, at a tech fundraiser, everything shifted. Emily wore a silver gown, her hair swept into loose waves, feeling more like herself than ever. Nathan introduced her to a group of investors, his arm around her waist, his smile genuine. "You two make a great team," one said, raising a glass. Emily laughed, but Nathan's hand lingered, his touch warm, grounding. Later, as they danced under dim lights, he leaned close. "You're not just good at this," he said. "You're incredible." Emily's heart skipped, her cheeks warming. For a moment, the lie felt real, and that scared her more than anything. Back at the penthouse, Emily couldn't sleep. She paced her suite, the weight of the past months pressing in. She'd come so far from the retail clerk humiliated in a mall. But what was she building? A life of pretense? She thought of Nathan's kindness, his quiet support, the way he'd made her feel seen. But was it just part of the deal? The next morning, she found him in the kitchen, coffee in hand, his tie loosened. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady despite the knot in her chest. Nathan set his mug down, his eyes searching hers. "What's wrong?" he asked. "This marriage," she said. "It's starting to feel real." And I don't know what that means. Nathan's expression softened, but there was something else. Guilt, maybe, or hesitation. Emily, he said, sitting across from her, there's something I haven't told you. Her stomach dropped. What? She asked, bracing herself. Nathan ran a hand through his hair. The will. My grandfather's clause. It's not just about marriage, he said. It's about proving I can build something lasting, something real. I didn't just need a wife. I needed someone I could trust, someone who'd make me better. Emily's breath caught. And you chose me, she asked. Why? Because you're real, he said. You don't pretend to be something you're not. You've been through hell, your divorce, that day in the mall, and you still show up, still try. I admire that. Emily's eyes stung, his words hitting deeper than she expected. But this isn't real, she said. We're pretending. Are we? Nathan asked, his voice quiet. I know I said this was business, but I've seen who you are, Emily. You're not just a solution to my problem. You're more. Her heart raced, torn between hope and fear. She'd spent months guarding herself, keeping the line between them clear. But now that line was blurring. What are you saying? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan leaned closer. I'm saying I don't want this to end when the year's up, he said. I don't know what this is. Friendship, partnership, something else. But I want to find out. Emily stared at him, her mind spinning. She'd agreed to a fake marriage for money, for a fresh start, but this was something she hadn't planned for. She thought of her old life, the weight of debt, the sting of being invisible. Nathan had given her more than a deal. He'd given her a chance to see herself differently, to believe she could be more. I don't know if I'm ready for that, she said, her voice shaking. I've been so focused on surviving, I forgot how to feel anything else. Nathan nodded, his eyes gentle. I get it, he said. I'm not asking for an answer now. Just think about it. Emily nodded, her throat tight. She spent the next days in a haze, replaying his words, wrestling with her own heart. She'd come into this for the money, but now she saw Nathan, not the billionaire, but the man who'd stood up for her, who'd believed in her when she didn't believe in herself. The final event of their contract was a gala for Nathan's company, a glittering affair in a downtown ballroom. Emily wore a deep green dress, her confidence no longer borrowed. She moved through the crowd with ease, laughing with guests, her arm linked with Nathan's. For the first time, she didn't feel like an imposter. As they stood on a balcony overlooking the city, Nathan turned to her. 3 months left, he said. Any regrets? Emily looked at him, her heart full. No, she said. This changed me. You changed me. Nathan smiled, a real smile, not the one he used for cameras. Good, he said, because you changed me too. Their year ended quietly, with a divorce filing as planned. But Emily didn't feel like she was losing something. She felt like she'd gained herself. The $5 million arrived in her account, but it was Nathan's belief in her that mattered most. She enrolled in a marketing program, moved into a small house, and started building a life on her terms. Nathan stayed in touch, their coffee meetings turning into long conversations. Then something more. The lie that had brought them together became the foundation for something real. The city lights faded as Emily's story settled into a gentle close. She started as a woman invisible, weighed down by a life that felt too small. A stranger's cruelty in a crowded mall could have broken her, but instead it opened a door. Nathan's offer was a risk, a leap into a world of pretense, but it gave her something greater, courage, worth, a chance to rewrite her future. Sometimes the worst moments lead to the greatest transformations. Emily learned that kindness, even from a stranger, can change everything. And the universe? It has a way of turning pain into possibility. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe. There's more to come. Because in the end, we're never as alone as we think, and our greatest opportunities often hide in the shadows of our hardest days.